connection.
This is 8 Minutes of Awesome. I'm Jennifer Lipsky, and joining me today is Rachel Whalley. Rachel is all about conflict, but she's not about causing conflict. Rachel Whalley is all about healing conflict. Hi, Rachel.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me today and for starting off our video in such a fun way. I would love for you to tell people about your awesome website. I love the name of it. So tell us about it and how you came to have it be.
So my website is called Healing for Good Girls. And that came to be because I've been a therapist for about 7 years. And I was always kind of searching for who is it that I'm working with, like who are my people, and so I can, know how to speak to them more. And then I had my marriage and a significant friendship and business partnership all fell apart right around the same time, about 4 years ago. And as I was looking for what my part in that was, I saw how even though I'm an extrovert, I like to kind of laugh loud and make lots of friends and that kind of thing. And there's lots of stuff I'll talk about. I'm not that private, but I saw how in looking into what happened with us, how there's just were this like corner of this little area, this little room in my brain and my spirit of things that I wasn't talking about because I knew they were going to lead to conflict. I knew they were going to be hard to resolve, to handle, and that they could potentially be deal breakers. And so I just chose to not talk about them. And I saw the ultimate result of that was that the relationships didn't work out. So then when I really was, discovering that about myself, then I started seeing it everywhere. This like avoidance of conflict and this emotional caretaking behavior, this sort of like over apologizing that women do with each other all the time. Oh, I'm so sorry to bother you. I saw a poem recently, where a spoken word, where somebody said, "I raised my hand for 3 times in class today, and every time my speaking started with 'I'm sorry.'" And so when I was really had my eyes open to it, I just discovered how we were all being such good girls and how that was holding women back in such a huge way. Therefore, healing for good girls.
So, Rachel, in part of your process, you've developed for people something called the self-rescue system. Tell us about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I did. Well, so as I was helping women with the good girls issues and really exploring it more and trying to just understand what's at the heart of it, I came to this quintessential point that everything really spirals down to this not knowing how to have difficult conversations because no one ever teaches us. And we're not supposed to be angry. Women aren't, it's not okay for women to act angry or be emotional. So, we just sort of avoid in different ways having to have those hard conversations. Like that's the worst thing in the world. Um, and I think that really inhibits us from negotiating for better jobs and raises and from being bigger leaders in our communities and our organizations and politically, because there's a lot of pushback and we have to know how to stand calm and confident and speak up, for what matters. So what I ended up developing for myself was a way to really handle my own fears of particular kinds of conflict. And then I came to realize that what I'd done for my own personal growth work was actually something that I could teach, that was a templatizable chart that people could fill out to prepare for conflict. Not prepare for conflict sounds like you're going to put on flak jackets, but it's really about how to not make it, how to make it a productive conversation as much as possible instead of it being an actual active conflict.
Mm,
So that's what the self-rescue system does, is it takes you through a four component journey
mm.
to prepare for a potential difficult conversation.
Yeah. I guess at the heart of conflict, it seems like, it kind of boils down essentially to emotions, maybe fear or different things. And so it seems like if you can identify perhaps what those things are and you know, be able to prepare yourself in whatever way or address them in whatever way,
Mhm.
it seems like that would be helpful. And it seems like that's what your self-rescue system helps someone do.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think all potential difficult conversations boil down to, I mean, a lot of the time, both one or both of the people saying, "Do you really hear me? Do you really understand where I'm coming from or what's affecting me? So do you hear my emotions?" And the other person saying, "Well, do you hear mine?" And then it's, "Do you hear my needs?
Right.
And are my
Right.
needs being heard?"
Yeah. That listening and dialogue. Absolutely. Yeah.
And there are components, there are tools out there in the world that teach about how to have those kinds of conversations, but what's been missing is, how do you resource yourself? How do you, if you're already in this sort of like inner panic experience, being triggered from not knowing how to have conflict, and then you're getting like all wound up and you're having an adrenaline response and the cortisol is dripping in your brain, and you know you need to have a tool to address what happens inwardly first, and then be able to step into the tool for how to actually talk about it.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that's what I've brought together.
Yeah. Yeah. Very valuable. Very valuable. And so you help people through these challenges and these kind of very, kind of sensitive and vulnerable places and spaces in their lives and
Hmm.
within themselves. So how do you handle vulnerability?
Hmm. It's a good question. I remember us talking about it beforehand. I'm like, I wonder how I'll answer that question. Um, how do I handle vulnerability? I think what I do is I really listen inside of myself. So if I notice sort of if I just notice straight up feeling vulnerable, then it's more apparent, and I just kind of I offer myself a lot of self-soothing. um, I listen to a meditation, I talk to friends. I A lot of times for me it helps to get my body warm and comfortable, so maybe I'll dance or exercise, maybe I'll go to the spa, maybe I'll just kind of cuddle up with a blanket, creature comfort blanket and a teddy bear, and allow my body to feel safe while I send a lot of love inside and really try to listen to what's going on for me.
Mm, yeah, so you listen deeply to yourself first. I think that's really, really a good place to start. I think sometimes people, when they're feeling very vulnerable, may kind of go outside of themselves for some sort of comfort. I want that chocolate bar. I'm feeling really super vulnerable. I want to eat that chocolate bar, and maybe going inside is a good place to start first. Yeah.
Yeah, going inside and getting support from my nearest and dearest people I know that I can just go to even if I don't know what's happening, and say, "I'm struggling and can you be with me?"
Right.
And I have a few relationships where we do that for each other.
Well, that's a big blessing too. It's very good. So tell me today, what is the message? If there was one thing for other people to hear today, what would that one message be?
Hmm. Well, there's so many messages, but message that I think that I've been given, to really put out there is, especially for women and for men too, but I think women, they're like in my heart about how we need this work. My message to women is, not knowing how to be calm and confident in conflict is not your fault. I had a little message on my screen there. You can get it out. So, my message to women is that not knowing how to do this already, not already having it down and being, super graceful Martha Stewart in difficult conversations, that's not your fault. If no one ever taught you how to do this, there's no reason why you would know how to do this. And in fact, we're in a society that's really shaped us away from healthy emotional communication.
Mm,
I
Right.
mean,
Like
if
you
you
must be
think about it.
Superwoman, like put on the Superwoman suit and there it is. But it takes work and um
And learning.
yeah, and
You have
learning.
to learn how. Somehow you have to learn how because it's not going to just show up and it's not your fault that you don't know.
Right. Right. Well, thank you so much for all of those messages and for all the good work you do. And for those people who want to connect with Rachel personally, you can do so at her amazing website, healingforgoodgirls.com. Rachel Whalley, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Well, mine too.